right, so today's a special day because we're going to get opened up, and I'm really excited about it. You know, they're throwing this word around called quantum physics, right? You hear it a lot. Well, quantum physics is really being a mystic and believing in it and knowing that that's a part of you that we can tap into. So I'm really excited to hear your talk today. And you're leaving us when are you going to go back? The 26th, so she'll be here for the Christmas party. But she's moving back and going to stay there for a little while till you and Nelson decide what you're going to do with your life. So as you grow up, I like that. As you grow up. That's right. So let's give Reverend Shari a really big hand. I just adore this woman, so she has a lot to say.
I want to do what, who was it? Robin Williams did. Good morning. Yeah, thanks. Okay, I brought this book with me because I am so excited. And it's called The Possibility Principle. And I'm excited because we're going to be working with this in January. That's even more exciting. So I want to say good morning to everyone online. I thought my husband would be, but he's not. Good morning, YouTube. He's heard my talk several times, so he's probably okay with that. So let's take a big breath. Thank you, Mary. That was great. I loved it. Let's just take a big breath because we're going to stretch into some possibility here today. I'm going to throw out some stuff. I want you to grab what's true for you and put the rest aside. And we're going to use these today, this little note card, because I want you to write something on it today. So my talk is called Flowing Ground. I think the global theme, Grand Rising. I never quite got into the Grand Rising until I started reading this book. And I feel like I'm rising myself in this grandeur of it. Before I start, too, I want to point out that it's Advent season. So with the song, and I say Merry Christmas, the English say Happy Christmas, and I say Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, and everything, and winter solstice. This is a busy, busy month. And with Advent, they light a candle every week. One is joy, no. One is peace. One is, I can't remember I'm going to fail Catholicism, I think. I've already failed. Joy, peace, today's joy, peace, and the pink candle is for next week, which is love. So I have to get back to my nuns. They kicked me out. So today's stretching into possibility. And how we're going to do this is we're going to release some words that keep us a little bit comfortable, but not so much in growth. So we talked about the universe is a constant state of change. And all of it is for us to be open to newness right now. We're in the middle of shifts, and it's not just earthquakes. We've been in the middle of shifts since probably 2020. Before that, all the time we're in the middle of shifts. But we're in the middle of a really big shift right now. And we have been prepared for it for such a long time. I want to ask how many scientists there are here in the room. Any scientists? One scientist, two scientists? Okay. So if I make a boo-boo, you can tell me afterwards, okay? How many religious scientists do we have in this room? Yay, okay. We're going to talk about the perspective of religious science because we call ourselves the science of mind. And a lot of the quantum physics that Reverend Suzette was talking about is about the mind and the scientific part of our being. So we're going to examine and we're going to expand our way of we're going to use science of mind as a laboratory. So I'm going to invite you to stretch into this possibility and see if there's little parts of you, because I'm going to talk about parts, see if there's little parts of you that are going, not so much. I like to be comfortable. Well, we're moving into uncomfortability. So before I start, I want to start with a disclaimer. Science is not truth. Science is finding the truth. And when science changes opinion, it didn't lie to you. It learned more. That's the difference. We grow into more. We grow into more realizations. We grow into more aha moments. Like back in the 30s, which I'm going to talk about, they started this quantum physics then. Ernest Holmes was there. Ernest Holmes was born into that. So he had this idea of this greater yet to be then. And a lot of us had to catch up to it. And that's why we practice science of mind. So let's begin today with a new game plan. I've been watching football, so that's my little thing. My granddaughter's in Penn State, so I've been watching Penn State football. And I'm a Steeler fan. Sorry, Chargers. But I like the game plans that is all set up for us. So today we're going to move from, I did the wrong thing. There. This is our new game plan today for a paradigm shift. We're going to go into different portals. So we're going to move from the old world thinking, which is our personal interpretation, which has our own personal biases, right? And we're going to go into a new world of experiencing. Easy, right? And then we're going to talk about quantum physics based on possibilities, the thrill of possibilities. It's possible to change, right? Then we're going to look at science of mind as a lab through the whole thing. It's a laboratory. Ernest Holmes says we're a philosophy, we're a faith, we study the mind, and we're a psychology. So we're going to put it all together today. And then we're going to look at the importance of words. And I'm talking about 8 words that kind of scrunch us up and kind of limit us. And then we're going to talk about internal family systems, which is my passion and my love. And we're going to move from the mono mind, one mind, into multiplicity. And we talk about multiplicity all the time. We talk about parts of ourselves. We say, there's a part of me that wants to go, but there's a part of me that doesn't want to go. And Science of Mind talks about aspects of ourselves. So it's all about coming together with this new idea. And since it's going to be a new year, let's birth ourselves into it. So I have a quote from Mel Schwartz, who wrote this book, The Possibility Principle. And he says, when we look at quantum physics, we see that all parts of the universe are evolving. This wholeness unfolding evokes a spirit of perpetual movement, refreshingly uncertain, and replete with potential and inspiration. We are like the universe. We are in a constant state of flow. Even though everyone's sitting, stuff is happening in the body. You're flowing. Your mind, your heartbeat, your breath, everything is flowing. Everything is working. So in quantum physics, they talk about, and this is where the scientists come in, the entanglement theory. And it's not a bad thing, entanglement. When I first heard it, it was like, entanglement? I think of a piece of yarn that's all, But this is an example of oneness, and it shows as twins. When twins are born, they have this, they know what the other one's thinking. They know what the other one's feeling. That's what this is. There's particles that become linked, and they share this strong correlation, even when they're separate, even when there's a big distance between them. That's why there's this power to prayer. That's why there's distinct healings, distant healings, and remote viewings, and psychic, and all this stuff, because we grab hold of it. We are part of it. So it's not so much what we think as how we think. So how do we realize this in a deeper way? Well, we need to experience and understand our beliefs. And thoughts are coded by our beliefs. Where our beliefs come from is more important than what the belief is. So we have different beliefs based on different life experiences. You know that saying, one size fits all? It's not true. It's not true. Everybody has their own experience. Everybody has their own way of, quote, thinking. And this brings me to the importance of words, because we need to begin to hear what we're saying, not just what we're thinking, but what we're saying. Because our words are the vessels in which our thoughts and our feelings take shape. Think about that. Our words are the vessels. They hold this. They hold the thoughts. They hold the feelings. And this becomes our worldview. So George Lakoff, who is a linguist and a cognitive scientist, says, language that fits that worldview activate that worldview. Now we're talking about old worldview versus the new worldview. So the language that we were developed in, that we grew in, is our old worldview. I'm asking you to just stretch into a possibility of a new worldview. So it activates that worldview, it strengthens it, and it turns off the other worldview, and it weakens it. So what we're going to do today is look at this language that kind of comes from the past in more ways than one. Alfred Korzybinski is a scientist and philosopher, and he's the guy that I was talking about with regard to Science of Mind, with regard to Ernest Holmes. He was the one that, I won't say invented, but he discovered these to be verbs. And this was at the same time that Ernest Holmes was in his midst of discovery. So these verbs are is, are, was, were, am, be, being, been. Now most verbs express movement. They're action verbs. These don't. They tend to freeze us in time, and they tend to freeze us in past time. And it kind of marginalizes our self-esteem. So let's try an experiment. Since we're all religious scientists here, let's experiment with this. Let's say out loud, if you're willing, I am whole, perfect, and complete.
I am whole, perfect, and complete.
Now, close your eyes and feel that in your body. And say it again. I am whole.
I am whole, perfect, and complete.
And see if there weren't any little parts of you that popped up and said, yeah, right. All the other stuff that happens. Now take a breath. And now say, I feel whole, perfect, and complete.
I feel whole, perfect, and complete.
One more time. I feel.
Whole, perfect, and complete.
Do you notice a difference? Do you notice the difference between that one part, I am, versus I feel? There's another one, it is hard to change, versus I have a hard time changing. It opens us up to a deeper inquiry. I have a hard time changing. It gives me a chance to see, where is it I have a hard time changing? I have one that I was working with this week, I think it was. I've been walking 3 dogs. I'm at my daughter's house, and talk about being present in the moment. when you're walking 3 dogs, you know. So I would go home and I'd say, I'm tired. I'm tired. And when I discovered these words, it was like, well, it seems as though I have lack of energy now. So I'm not walking through the day saying I'm tired. I caught myself and said, it seems as though right now I have lack of energy. And it opens up a possibility to breathe, to expand. It's like, yeah, it seems as though I do. And then in the moment, it starts to just kind of shift on its own. So I've been playing with the words is and am a lot. So these are the ones that lead to more self-inquiry, because we could say that I was blah, 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 or it seems to be, or it appears that I am. It appears that this is what's happening. It appears that there's not enough. It appears. So we switch these words and we begin to open up the possibility even more. I call it quantum awareness beyond the is. You know that saying, it is what it is. Have you heard that? It is what it is. I was like, it's a shutdown, really, because it's like, I'm not going to discuss anything. It is what it is, you know? So it's got to be true. It's got to be true. It is what it is. So take a look at that is word and the verb, because it's not an action verb. So quantum physics shows that reality exists not as fixed objects, but as possibilities collapsing into form. So his framework, these 2B verbs, shows how it frees the dynamic processes into static. It just becomes static. It's like a radio static. You know, it's like, I am. And in the book, he talks about how he used this when he was working with alcoholics. Because the first thing they say is, I am an alcoholic. And so what happens? Yes. Instead of looking at, it seems to be that I have an alcohol problem. It gives us a chance to look bigger at the problem instead of labeling ourselves as, I am tired, I am this, I am that. So he talked about that in the book, which I absolutely loved. So in the framework of this work, which I keep thinking when I'm reading this stuff, it is when Ernest Holmes was around, this stuff was happening. And for me, it's like, why am I just getting it? Look at it, it's taken me this long. Why am I just getting it? And it's like, we get it when we get it, right? And this book just kind of fell into my lap. So, you know, Reverend Jerry says, what lights you up? What lights you up? He said this last Sunday. What lights you up? And I was sitting here going, this is the stuff that lights me up. This and internal family systems and recognizing that there's, it's not a mono-mind culture and it's a multiplicity. We talk about it all the time, but we don't talk about it mentally. We don't talk about our mind being that way. So he talks about how these 2B verbs are limiting. And he said, instead of saying the electron is a particle, consider the electron behaves like a particle when measured. You see the shift of that? It's like the expansion possibility. Now, in the human experience, let's say I am anxious. Consider, I notice anxious feelings arising. I am scared. I notice scared feelings rising. So it brings us back into the present and the experience of deepening our inquiry. I love the flute, or whatever you called it, and I love that it's from Ireland, because the Irish say, there's sadness that has come upon me. Instead of I am sad, they say, there's sadness that's come upon me. And we could say the same. There's happiness that's come upon me. Instead of I am happy, there's happiness that's come upon me. And it gives us time and space to expand an even bigger idea of who we are. So Mel Schwartz said, by removing to be verbs, we recognize that existence unfolds through relationships, observation, and interaction. Principles central to both quantum physics and human consciousness. So with that in mind, let's look at another paradigm shift. Let me see if I have my slide. I do, okay. We're going to move from monomind to multiplicity. And this comes along with the quantum physics and the to be verbs. It all comes together like baking a cake or baking a chicken or whatever. I'm not a cook, so I just think of cakes. So Richard Schwartz started the internal family systems back in the 80s. Same thing. He started as a therapist. It morphed from psychology to becoming a spiritual and life practice. And that's where it began for me like 3 or 4 years ago. It's become a life practice for me. And he talks about being self-led. And so in the monomind frame, which is the old world thinking, we believe we have one mind. And we talk about it. I'm not talking about the mind that Ernest Holmes is talking about. I'm talking about we believe we have this one mind. All thoughts, emotions, impulses come from this one mind. This is the paradigm we were raised in. This is the old world thinking. Now I'm asking you to try this on. You don't have to keep it. You can put it aside if you want to. But I'm asking you to try on a paradigm of multiplicity. We have different parts of ourselves. I was talking about this earlier. There's like a part of me that wants to go to dinner. No, let's say there's a part of me that wants to work out, but there's another part of me that doesn't, you know. So we start to begin to investigate both of those parts. I know there used to be jokes like there's an angel on one side and a devil on the other side, you know. But with these parts, you know, there are no bad parts. There's no bad parts. It might sound a little creepy at first. It might sound like, oh, there's a lot of people talking inside my head, you know. But isn't it true? Have you ever tried to sit in meditation and see what happens? You know, that's what happened with me. I always had trouble with meditation, and I always judged myself about it. I always felt like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just sit and, you know, be Buddha-like? And when I sit like that, I've got this one part of my mind that just loves to pay for me to pay attention, like a little kid, like, you know, I need some attention. So I have been practicing this work and letting it do its thing for a little bit. And then it just kind of dies down, and then I can sit with it. So it's not like I'm trying to push it away. I'm not trying to push the ego away. I'm not trying to quiet my mind. I'm just allowing that part to do its thing. So the monomind perspective, which is the old dynamic, can lead us into fear or self-hating because we think, I have one mind and it just doesn't work. And then we go out and try to figure out what's wrong with it instead of allowing just to listen. I always say listen to the parts, whether it's the part of our body or the part of our mind. So we try to control our emotions, and then what happens? We create an inner critic. And then it just seems to get stronger if we're trying to ignore it, instead of just sitting there going, okay, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to me? What is there? So most spiritual practices still believe in the one mind view. They suggest just changing your belief and meditate them away. And what I'm saying is, be with it. Be with whatever is talking, or whatever is experiencing, or whatever the essence is, whatever the feeling is. Don't be afraid of it, is what I'm saying. So, we don't need to get rid of them. We need to have self-compassion for ourselves. So, mindfulness is a step toward the experience of multiplicity, because we could separate and we can observe our thoughts and emotions from a place of self-compassion. But it's still the view of the mono-mind. So it doesn't encourage this interaction, this dialogue that we will have and we will come to peace with. So in this, I call it the season of light in quantum awareness. Look at the multiplicity of those. Look at the multiplicity of all of those lights. So when you go home today, maybe take just one of these questions with you. What would I like to experience in my life? What would I like to experience this season? What would I like to change? And what do I feel hopeful about in this year to come? How would I like to experience this upcoming holiday? Instead of listening to all the chatter or all the stuff that has happened in the past or anything else, what really do you want to create for this holiday, for yourself? Bring that along to whatever you're doing, if you're doing dinner or if you're doing, I don't cook, my husband does, so I sit back and watch, I do the dishes. It's easier for me. I reflect while he cooks. So Skillshare, which is a corporation, says the future belongs to the curious, the ones who are not afraid to try it, explore it, poke at it, question it, and turn it inside out. And that's what we're doing when we're shifting our paradigm. That's what we're doing when we're opening the portal to stretching into this possibility. That's what Jesus was doing when he was talking through stories and metaphors. He really wanted people just to catch the vision that he was creating. He wanted people to question and poke at it, turn it inside out. He wanted them to recognize the metaphors within them. And Richard Swartz said that Jesus was self-led. And it makes sense. He did all his internal work, right? And then he said, not so much his disciples, because they were still trying to follow what somebody else was saying. And he was trying to get them to get inside and feel what he's feeling and seeing that I and the Father are one. Not I am, but I and the Father are one. We are one. We are that. So Eric Butterworth said Jesus was a revolutionary at heart. He wanted to set the world on fire, to change the old order, to establish the kingdom of righteousness on earth. His was a spiritual revolution. He had no desire to overthrow governments. His object was to change thoughts. That's who we are. We're setting the world on fire now. It's our turn. We are the evolution of his revolution. Even more so with this new worldview. Ernest Holmes said this: we are creations of an infinite intelligence. Through all the years of our life, we have piled on behaviors and beliefs that have kept us apart from living in alignment with our true nature. When we uncover that, we step into our personal power. And I say we step in a new paradigm and portal for living in the possibility, perhaps using the examples that I talked about today. So my Christmas gift to you is my little Irish poet, John O'Donoghue. I love him. For a new beginning. And it fits so nice with moving into this paradigm of the new world. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge, For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight when your courage kindled and out you stepped onto new ground. Your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Through your destination, though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning. That is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spiritual adventure. And so it is. Oh, did I not get it? Read that one. Oh.
Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home with a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you.
Your soul senses the world that awaits you. So that's my gift to you this holiday season. And I hope you'll join us in this book thing in January. I love it. I hope to see you there. And I just want to close with a prayer. If everyone would just come together. I love how Jerry starts it, come together in the light, and Mary said it today. Let's just come together in this space, this divine light and this divine love. This that is our heritage. It is ours to expand into this possibility of awareness. It is this desire, this love, this light that I call divine intelligence. So many names to it: God, love, joy, essence. It is this that we are, individually and collectively. A multitude of happiness and joy. And so we come together this day recognizing and knowing that there is only this one, tied up and entangled in the mystery of life, in the presence and the power that it is, expanding the vision of this oneness that has been created eons ago. It is this divine connection and this divine love that I know wholeheartedly, that we move through this time. We move through this time in compassion for this world as it moves and expands and grows, and compassion for ourselves as we move and expand and grow, in health, in joy, in happiness. I recognize this possibility. I recognize this consciousness of love. In this giving season, I know that we are the receivership, and we take it out into the world, blessing it and blessing ourselves. And so I release this word. I know that even before it was spoken, it was already done. And I take a breath, and I say, and so it is, and so I let it be. Amen.